Northern Manitoba is home to a region spanning more than 6 million acres, containing countless lakes, each teeming with various fish that have never seen a fly. I literally dropped the fly over the side of the boat. Whoa! Nestled within this region, you will find Gangler's North Seal Lodge, the gateway to this vast, untouched wilderness. Gangler's floatplane fleet is the only way to access these remote lakes. I've always enjoyed trips with the opportunity to catch more than one species on the fly. I've been walleye washed. Locations that can offer such an opportunity are both rare and unique. Gangler's North Seal Lodge is one of these places. Home to trophy lake trout, northern pike, walleye, and Arctic grayling. Catching all 4 species is referred to as the Canadian Grand Slam. Join me as I explore just a sliver of this untouched territory and attempt to secure myself the Gangler's Canadian Grand Slam by catching all 4 species on the fly. This is why you come to Manitoba.
Ooh, that's a nice sized fish.
Absolutely fantastic.
Nice.
Oh my goodness, that's the kind of fish they make stickers out of.
The new fly fisher is supported by Travel Manitoba, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada,
My Gangler's North Seal Lodge adventure began with an early wake-up at my Winnipeg hotel. I boarded a shuttle and headed to the airport to check into my Gangler's flight. Once at the airport, I checked my baggage and boarded the aircraft for the approximately 2-hour flight to northern Manitoba. Upon arrival on the lodge's large, well-maintained gravel runway, our luggage was removed from the aircraft and delivered to the lodge. Although an ATV shuttle was available, I decided to stretch my legs and walked a short distance from the airstrip to the lodge. Within a few minutes, I had arrived at the main lodge. It was Canada Day, so I poured myself a coffee and awaited my cabin assignment. A constant parade of float planes shuffled guests to their nearby outpost camps. Many guests take advantage of the outpost camps located on several satellite lakes. Gangler's North Seal Lodge is located on the shores of Eggenolf Lake, approximately 640 miles north of Winnipeg, Manitoba, some 60 miles from the Nunavut border. The main lodge serves as a stepping stone to the incredible number of lakes the lodge has exclusive floatplane access to. Gangler's offers 5-star accommodation at their main lodge. The lodge features a full-service bar, lounge area, games area, and a large outside deck to absorb the complete Gangler's experience.
What was the appeal of coming up to northern Manitoba and coming so far north? The appeal to us was that whatever we do, we want to be the best. We want to be the absolute best at what we do and offer the best. I mean, we have trophy fishing for all 4 species here. The North Seal River fishery is truly unique. what makes this special about the 4 species? It's in that little thin range that goes across Canada where you have all 4 species available. And here you have all the habitat. You have habitat for, of course, pike, natural pike habitat. You have walleye. We're the furthest north edge for walleye, but lake trout, incredible lake trout, and then of course Arctic grayling. So it's got a mix of habitat that's very rare to find, where it's all thrown in together into the same place. And as for trophies, you know, we catch thousands of trophies every year. My guests don't even write them down. It's just something they do. And the quality fish, the fish that I would call, like with pike fishing, 35 to 39, 40 inches. I mean, we can't even keep track of those. And a fishing lodge is about atmosphere. It's about personal service. It's about being taken care of. So we've kept the lodges small. The main lodge is the 5-star with the chef on site and fully guided, all the accoutrements, I guess you'd say. The main lodge holds up to 26 people, 9 cabins. The outpost camps range anywhere from 4 to 10 people per camp, depending on the size of the lake, size of the camp.
I felt very fortunate to have 7 full days to enjoy the complete Gangler's experience, providing me the time to target and catch all 4 species to complete my Canadian Grand Slam. I headed out to fish Eganoff Lake, where Gangler's Lodge is located, for some initial exploration and to see if my Grand Slam goal was realistic. Northern pike belong to the same family as muskellunge and pickerel. They are long-lived, surviving over 20 years in ideal conditions. They are an aggressive apex predator capable of attaining large sizes well over 45 inches in length. Pike often hunt the deeper regions of the lake. They also love to stalk shallow bays and weed beds. Pike have a large, varied diet. Almost anything they come across ends up on their menu, including lake trout, lake whitefish, cisco, grayling, suckers, perch, frogs, leeches, ducklings, even each other. After a successful hunt, pike return to warmer shallow bays to rest and digest. Shallow bays are also favored spawning habitats, which takes place early each spring. Sometimes categorized as a warm water fish, pike actually thrive better in cooler water and are most active when temperatures range from 56 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. As water temperatures warm, larger pike retreat to deeper, cooler water. But they will return to the shallows at certain times of the day to hunt, especially in the far north where I am fishing. The northern pike's aggressive disposition and shallow water habits make them an ideal fly rod quarry using streamers and topwater patterns. Takes are seldom subtle.
Oh yeah, there we go. I thought I saw a swirl. George took us out for hunting some pike. That looks like a nice fish. On the Whistler, one of my favorite pike flies. Not a bad way to start. Got a little bite mark on him, some love marks. I thought there might be somebody here. Line off so I don't stand on it. Fishing wire leaders. Just grip him in the chin. Watching for his chompers. And this one is right on the side of the mouth. Nice little Eganoff pike. Seem to have found where they're hiding, George. Good old red and white Whistler. Who says pike don't fight? Oh yeah, that's a bigger fish.
I was able to catch several pike, including one large fish.
On the white whistler. Just casting in amongst the rocks, shallow water. Got a couple of small ones, and then this big, healthy girl showed up. Let's put her back.
My plan was seemingly off to a great start, as I already had one species checked off my list. However, Mother Nature had other plans. Weather on any trip often plays a role. My trip to Ganglers proved to be no exception. The next day, a large aggressive cold front passed through. I tried sneaking out before it settled in, but heavy rain and increasing winds cut my session short. It just wasn't safe to stay out on the water. We were lodge bound for the balance of the day, and even into the following day as high winds and rain bombarded the area. As is typical on lakes after a cold front, the day following always seems promising, with clear skies and a persistent wind. We decided on a flyout, hoping to knock walleye off my list. But the reality is the extreme temperature changes and barometric pressure swings caused by the cold front usually drive big fish into the depths.
We've got what appears to be a beautiful day here, but we had some really nasty weather. Very aggressive front passed through yesterday. Lots of wind and rain kept us shorebound. But we're fishing post-cold front conditions. Air temperatures are dropped, the wind is up, blue banner day or very bright skies. And these fish are just off. They're not chasing, they may be out in deeper water. So we gotta fish slower. I like to use black. This is a black bunny leech, long, slow pulls. When fishing shallow, keep your cast short because you don't wanna hang up on the rocky bottom. We just gotta work slowly and methodically, and hopefully as the day progresses, the activity level of these fish will pick up. Oh, there we go. The little guy on the bunny leech. Bring this one in. The rod down safely. There we go. We need to find some of his bigger brothers and sisters. Off you go.
Fish of any species were few and far between. The shallows seemed barren. All I had to show for a day of persistent casting, fly changes, and visiting a variety of likely-looking spots were a few small pike. For the first time, I felt my Grand Slam might be in jeopardy. I knew I had my work cut out for me. Thankfully, I had two things in my favor: the combined experience of Ken Gangler and his guides, plus the numerous lakes at their disposal. Although we had had a tough day on the water, we had time to enjoy a delicious shore lunch before the float plane picked us up and shuttled us back to camp. Lake trout are the largest member of the char family, capable of attaining massive sizes. The current world record sits at over 70 pounds. They are voracious predators, dining on a wide range of prey, including lake whitefish, cisco, pike, even their younger siblings. Smaller lake trout also rely on aquatic insects and invertebrates to complete their diet. Like all char species, lake trout prefer cool, oxygenated water. Their preference for a deep water existence is one of the reasons lake trout can be challenging to catch on the fly. Don't let this concern you. Fly fishers can use specialized presentation techniques to successfully target and catch lake trout in water 40 feet or more. During the early spring, when water temperatures are still cool, lake trout cruise the shallows, bringing them well into range of the fly fisher. Lake trout also gather again in the fall along shallow rocky areas to spawn, bringing them well within the fly fisher's presentation window. Although the main front had passed, we still had a few rain squalls passing through. I wondered if this might further impact our fishing. Speaking to Ken, he said the conditions were perfect for lake trout, as they are often active in low light conditions coupled with rain. We headed out on the lake to target lake trout in deep water.
We're going to cast downwind as far as we comfortably can. Then we're going to strip off the rest of our line and basically stack mend it on top to get that line to sink as vertical as we can, and then strip it back up through. So you need a relatively light wind day, which we've got here today, and George does a great job controlling the boat to allow that line and fly to sink, and then we hang on for the big thump of a lake trout. There she goes. Whoops. Fish on. That didn't take long at all. George's doing a great job allowing me to get my line down. We're marking them in about 40 feet or so. So we're getting that fly down. Such fun on the fly rod. George has got the net handy. Thank you, George. Well, let's have a look at this. About 5 pounds, 4 or 5 pounds. Got that chartreuse and white half and half right in the scissors of the jaw. Beautiful fish, aggressive, every bit as aggressive as a northern pike. So we're we're casting downwind, as far as you comfortably can. You don't have to try and hit the other side of the planet. And then you take the slack and stack mend that on top, and then the combination of the drift of the boat and George just controlling the drift so I can get as vertical a presentation as I can, and then I just start, aggressive 2 to 4 inch strips with pauses, just get that fly to move. Those dumbbell eyes are gonna pitch and undulate, and then they just thump it. And there's no subtle take with these lakers. They're very aggressive predator. He looks pretty good. I'll just steer that right in. It's in the bucket. So when the weather is lousy, this is the time to come chase lake trout and ganglers. You don't have to cast far. And then just take the slack and throw it in, and then George just helps control the boat and the combination of the drift just to allow that to sink. We've got to have the sink time. We don't have the luxury of a heavy lure like a conventional angler would, a heavy spoon, a heavy jig. Even though our fly line sinks, it takes a little more time to get down. Watching that line, it's coming up near vertical, it's perfect. Pulling up through them. Wait for the thump. Ugh, followed it right up. Ooh, that's a nice one. I'll take that. I expect this guy to wake up any second now, so I want to step on the line. So we're gonna use my pinky to guide line on, keep the pressure on this fish, bulldogging around the see him. He's just up. There he goes. Oh, look at that. Overrun the drag a bit. Oh, reel down and hump him up. Right in there. Yeah, fly came right out. That's a good thing. Ain't half bad for a fish you're not supposed to get on a fly rod. Beautiful. Killers. We're just using, again, a chartreuse and white, half and half, and only about 5 feet a leader. I've got 3 feet of 0x to 2 feet of 1x or 2x, and that's all you need. Non-slip loop knot. Beautiful fish.
One of the challenges when targeting fish, such as lake trout in deep water, is consistently getting your line and fly to the same depth. As we had a sounder on our boat, we knew how deep we were fishing over and where the lake trout held. In these situations where you know how deep the fish are and the sink rate of your line, the rule of 12 comes into play. So what does this mean? If you divide your line sink rate into 12, as there are 12 inches in a foot, you know how long it takes for your line to sink 1 foot. You then multiply the time it takes your line to sink 1 foot by the depth you are trying to target to let you know how long you need to let your line sink. Today, I used a full sinking line that sank at 5 inches per second, or approximately 2.5 seconds to sink 1 foot. To reach 40 feet, we need to allow our line to sink for 100 seconds. Incorporating the rule of 12s whenever you use sinking lines allows you to target the same depth with each cast consistently.
Oh, look at what we got. Using a 10 weight. Because there's some big lake trout in these lakes. This is just a, now it's just a tug of war. Look at that. Lake trout on the fly. Because he bumped it before. Bumped it twice before, and I didn't expect it quite that fast. Ooh! Stay still, boy. There we go. Lake trout on the fly. Off you go, big boy.
When prospecting deep water greater than 30 feet for lake trout or other species, getting your line and fly deep can be challenging. The drifting boat impacts your ability to get the fly line and fly down to the fish. In shallower water, you can anchor to allow time for your line and fly to sink. However, in deep water, it is often unwise or impractical to anchor. When the winds are light, you can get your fly line down 60 feet or more. Begin by stripping off the necessary length of line to reach the targeted depth. Using a couple of false casts in conjunction with a double haul, make a comfortable cast downwind. You do not need to cast all of the fly line. Once the line and fly land and begins to sink, stack mend the remainder of the line you have stripped off onto the line you have cast using a series of roll casts. During this portion of the presentation, adjust the boat's drift to allow the fly line to sink vertically without tension. Do not allow the fly line to drift past you, as this adds tension, which sweeps your line and fly up and away from the zone you wish to target. Allow the line to sink until it is vertical or near vertical before starting your retrieve. Use a brisk 6 to 12 inch strip pause retrieve to pull your fly through the water. Be prepared for an aggressive take at any time during the retrieve. As the fly comes near the surface, allow it to hang for a few seconds before casting again. Lake trout will often follow the fly to the surface before taking it. The hang portion of this presentation allows you to hook these following fish. I had initially planned to have one day to target walleye, followed by another day to focus on grayling. Due to the impact of the weather earlier in our trip, this was no longer possible. My quest for the Grand Slam was in jeopardy. I had just one day to catch walleye and grayling on 2 separate lakes. Our plan was to fly out to one of Ken's favorite walleye lakes. I had until a little after midday to cross walleye off my Grand Slam list. Not many anglers consider walleye an ideal fly rod fish. These members of the perch family are aggressive predators ideally suited for feeding in low light conditions. In ideal circumstances, walleye live long lives, up to 20 years, allowing them to attain giant sizes over 10 pounds. Walleye have a varied diet, feeding primarily on other fish such as perch, shiners, and minnows, along with other food sources such as leeches, crayfish, and aquatic invertebrates. Food sources fly fishers can easily imitate. Walleye occupy a wide range of habitat depending on water conditions and time of the year. Like trout, walleye are structure-orientated. Drop-offs, points, weed beds, inflow and outflow streams are ideal locations to find walleye. During the early spring, soon after spawning, walleye feed aggressively in the shallows as they rebuild their strength and stamina.
There are over 60 lakes we have access to here at Ganglers, and today it's all about the pursuit of walleye. We're on one of the lakes known for good size and good population of walleye. We're going to use 6-weight systems, floating lines, clear intermediates, small minnow patterns, see how many we can get. That's a fish. We have a fish. Just slow stripping. White streamer. Feels fairly decent. It's a walleye, the target species. So we're just fishing the outflow. These walleye are known to stack up here. Good fun. Gather the line here. That's a good sized walleye. Got a good set of teeth on them, but what you got to be careful of is this dorsal fin and these gills. These gill plates can give you a nasty little cut. So that species is officially crossed off the list. There we go, fish on. Just bumping this along the bottom using like a jig streamer. Just casting it across, letting it swing around. You can feel it ticking the bottom and get thumped. Good sized walleye here. What's unique about this region is actually finding walleye up here. This is probably one of the most northern based populations you'll find in North America, arguably the world. So, oh yeah, he sucked that down. Just like a pike, pinch him. And I'm gonna grab my hemostats because they have a set of teeth. They don't not as aggressive as worry about it necessarily like a pike, but neat skin, feels like 60, 80 grit sandpaper. Beautiful little walleye, white tipped fins, beautiful gold coloration. The beauty of these is when you find one, you usually find a bunch. They love to stick together and hang around. Just throw them back and go get another. So our setup is pretty simple. using a 6 weight. This is actually a 10-footer. I love my long rods for lake fishing. And especially if we switch to a dry line, a floating line, which is an option, that longer rod is going to allow me to mend and control the line to get it to sink and swing. I'm using just a clear intermediate line that sinks at about 2 inches per second just to get it down. Short 7-foot leader, nothing fancy. To a short tippet section, maybe only about 6 inches now of fluorocarbon. And my chartreuse and white half and half. Streamers are the way to go. Just a fun fishery, something you need to take advantage of up here because it's so special. You can find these walleye this far north. Walleye liked it. Kind of got a little tap and then it got a little heavier. They're fun to catch on a fly. Look at that, beautiful. I'm gonna do that again. Came up and whacked it. So this fish was probably following my half and half for a little while, but they're so well camouflaged with their golden brown coloration. Oh, there we go, nice walleye. Nice walleye. Beautiful walleye there. At the end of every retrieve here, I'm just letting it sit and hang and sort of jig up and down. These walleyes are coming up off the bottom and nailing it. So don't be in a hurry to recast. Let that fly just sit and dance, raise and lower the rod a little bit, slow raises. Another beautiful walleye. So we've just been experimenting. We've been fortunate. We've caught fish on every fly. But I just think, George says we're in anywhere from 5 to 8 feet of water. I want to make sure we're getting down. And also with my discussion with George, again, always listen to your guide. So he suggested something big. He likes white and chartreuse, so I put on a fly that I've been doing very well with for lake trout here. These walleye are not shy about eating. They need to get big. They've got to survive in a pretty rough and tumble world with huge northern pike. And sorry to interrupt, but I was just letting that fly hang at the end of my retrieve, and the walleye came up and whacked it. So the most popular method for conventional anglers here are jigs and spoons and spinners, and they'll eat flies too. And in many instances, they have never seen some of the weird creations we come up with. But this is actually a very nice walleye that's eaten my chartreuse and white half and half again. This is one of the larger ones we've caught. Ooh, this is arguably the nicest one of the morning so far. That's a pretty nice looking walleye. So we've got outflow here. We got current, so I'm quartering, like swinging flies you would on any river. And they seem to be concentrated down here. So this allows me to sink, and then I'm just retrieving it, jigging it. Sometimes I'll add a little strip action with the rod just to animate the fly. Sometimes it's a thump, sometimes it's just a tightening, and sometimes it's a tick tick and then a thump as they suck it in. Fish on. Just, again, quartering across. Let it swing and sink. It's a nice walleye. And then just vary your strips. Sometimes slow, sometimes a little more aggressive. This fly has the dumbbell eyes, so the strip and pause really helps the jigging action, which I think they like. And the takes are sometimes aggressive. Sometimes you think for a second, oh no, I've hooked bottom. And then bottom begins to shake and move. So. And again, lines you could use in here. We're using a clear intermediate. We've got a bit of wind. It allows it to get under the the surface of the wind doesn't affect. A sink tip would work good in this situation. And you could probably even do it with a floating line and almost nymph the streamers through there. Watching out for those gill plates and dorsal fin. Nice little walleye.
With walleye now stroked off our Grand Slam list, only one fish remained. It was time to target grayling. But I had only a few short hours to accomplish this task. If there is a signature fish of the north, it just might be the Arctic grayling. They are the only grayling species found in North America. The Arctic grayling is a stunning fish, tailor-made for the fly fisher. Besides their trout-like physique, grayling feature a large, sail-like dorsal fin that radiates an iridescent rainbow of color and markings, coloration similar to that of some tropical fish. Cool, oxygenated rivers and lakes are preferred grayling habitats. Although a long-lived, slow-growing fish, grayling can attain large sizes in ideal conditions by feeding on small invertebrates, aquatic insects, and small bait fish. Although subsurface presentations can work exceptionally well, the grayling's willingness to feed at the surface and take dry flies makes them so popular with fly fishers.
Just pulled over out of the current, tucked up in a nice rocky point. I'm gonna get out, can walk up along these rocks ahead of me, work these different lines. I'm gonna try the chubby Chernobyl to start, see if that drags anything up. If not, I might downsize the fly a little bit, or God forbid, nymph for them. There we go, little guy. Find a place to bring him in. I want to bring the grayling to me. I want to go to him. Very hard to hold. Grayling are officially off the list. Blow off the chubby Chernobyl. Right out there again. Up in front of me, I've got one rock that's about a quarter exposed, and then behind it, 3 others. Each of these is forming little current tongues. So I'm just gonna try and work the inside seam where the fast and the slow water meet. If I were a grayling, that's where I'd be sitting. Get some relief from the current, but the ability to zip out and grab some food that pops out. We've seen some caddis floating around, but so far, small chubby Chernobyl works. I can see it, it drifts and floats well. Let's see if this all comes together. Keep your cast short, more accuracy. Downstream men, because I'm in slower water, and there we go, as predicted. Right on the seam. Another beautiful grayling. There we go. Oh, look at the big beautiful dorsal fin on this. This is a big fish. Hard to handle, and they're kind of delicate. Oh, he broke off. Snapped it off. But he's away safely. That was a nice big grayling, right where it was supposed to be. Setup for this is pretty simple. 5-weight system, 9 to 10 foot. I'm using a 10-foot rod, gives me better mending ability. Dry flies. This is a little chubby Chernobyl, about a size 10. Elk hair caddis. Parachute Adams. Basically any common dry fly that floats, they're gonna come up for it. They're very surface orientated, an absolute blast on light gear. There we go. Nice gentle head tail rise. Just on the outside of the seam, ooh, this is one of our larger ones. This one was sitting just on the edge of the fast water. Oh, look at the beautiful dorsal fin on this fish. They're so delicate. Look at the colors on this, the fins, the dorsal fin. So one of the things you want to have in your Gangler's kit bag is your floatant and your powder. I'll show you the powder in a second. But the floatant any good paste floating, a little bit on your forefinger. Massage it between your thumb and forefinger, let your body heat liquefy it. Pat it into the parts of the fly, and that fly is ready to go. When I catch a grayling and it's saturated and it's not floating as well, then you reach into your pocket and you pull out the desiccant. And what this does is you open the lid, there are little desiccant beads in there, you drop the fly in, close it, give it a shake, it dries everything out, reapply the floatant, your fly's recharged, and you're ready to go again. There he is, as predicted. Took the chubby on the dry. Probably the only way you're supposed to catch grayling. Beautiful fish. See that fly on the outside of his cheek? I just want to find a relatively quiet spot. These quite delicate. Don't want to step on my line. They're so slippery. Look at that. Off he goes.
I had already caught a few northern pike before the bad weather moved into the region. Coupled with the success of catching lake trout, walleye, and Arctic grayling, I now had my Canadian Grand Slam successfully completed. Now it was time to see if I could upgrade my pike by exchanging blows with one of the large pike Ganglers is famous for. Ken Gangler suggested that if I wanted a shot at some true trophies, I should step up to the big leagues with a flyout to Frustration Bay, located on nearby Adam Lake. Adam Lake's Frustration Bay is a challenging, clear water destination, home to numerous large pike, mostly sight fishing, if conditions are right.
Today I'm standing on the shores of one of the most beautiful places we visited this week on our trip to Ganglers. It's a lake home to a place affectionately called, and probably more ominously called, Frustration Bay. There are huge trophy pike apparently that lurk in this bay, well within reach, well within eyesight, that just love to snub your flies. Hopefully we spend more time catching than we do watching. There we go, right away. First cast, that fly hadn't even, I don't think I'd even stripped it. George saw one. I said, should I make a cast? He says, yeah, I think so. I made, ooh, this has got some, it appears to be longer. So clear in here. They're quite lightly colored. Yeah, this one's, that's a good start. Get some line up on the reel here. I think this one's not quite ready for prime time. Now it's going. Whoops, a little too much drag there. Oh, I got a mess going now. Way to go, Phil. I think this one's gonna need the net. Yeah, that's a nice pike. Right underneath the boat. Big fish, big fish. Full of energy. Look at the size of this thing. Real mess on my reel here. That'll teach me for playing with the drag and spinning it the wrong way. Buck fever. Beautiful fish. Big. Swing that to the net, George.
Yep.
Yes. Woo! That's not a bad way to start. Frustration Bay. First cast. I'll let him go. There she goes. Thank you. Yes. One's in the bag. Let's go get some more. Just plowed it. So we're using 8-weight setup today. Oh, that's a big fish. That's a big fish. But if you come to Ganglers, A 9 is probably a good all-around setup. Floating line for pike will serve you probably pretty well all the time. You may want to bring a intermediate or an intermediate tip of some sort if they're deeper, but for what we're doing here today in Frustration Bay, which is slowly turning into Satisfaction Bay, oh, right on the tip of the snout. So George recommended black, nice neutral color. Maybe on a brighter day something flashy, but this seems to be working. Thank you, George. I think the fly almost fell out. Barbless hooks. Just using a standard black bunny leech. Long tail just seductively dances. Good pike color. How's that? Come to Frustration Bay. Come to Ganglers. Look at that. Just gonna play a hunch here. This is crystal clear water. So I'm gonna change up from our standard wire pike predator lead style leader to one that uses 80-pound fluorocarbon as the bite tippet. See if that gives us a little more advantage, a little more stealth in these clear conditions. There we go, in the pencil grass. Sitting in, wind's pushing in. Probably pushing some of those suckers we've seen. How big he is yet. Oh, it is a fish. For a second, I thought it was a stick. But it's got all the pencil grass.
Grass is.
Yeah. Looks good size, but yeah, for a second, I thought he was a stick. Ooh. It's got some power. Making this 8-weight of mine work. That's a nice looking pike. Oh. Hey, flies out. So pike are a little different than trout. You can't really grip them by the tail. I've got them just underneath the chin here. Do not want to put your fingers anywhere near the gills because they're sharp and you'll cut yourself to pieces. And then we want to support him kind of between his anal fin and his middle set of pelvic fins, I guess. And they'll stay nice and calm there for you. You don't want to bend them unnecessarily. Got total control of him. Now we can just lean him over the side like so. Whoa, and there he goes. So again, a little different art to handling these things. I'm actually getting them under the chin. I'm nowhere near the gills. That allows you to control them, support them, because if you try and grip them by the tail, they're so slimy, they're gonna bend, they're gonna struggle, they're gonna escape on you, or worse, they could fall in the boat and do themselves some injury. So it's not as rough and robust as you think it is. It's the best way to handle a pike.
Although we tried surface patterns such as poppers, pike seem reluctant to venture up to eat them. Thankfully, they would chase large streamers. Our best performing patterns were a black bunny leech, red and white whistler, a chartreuse and white half and half, and the whistling time bunny, a creation my cameraman Daniel came up with. The chartreuse half and half was also our best producing pattern for walleye and lake trout.
There we go. That was soft. Holy.
Okay.
It just felt like some under, it was just under tension. There was no, what I would call your aggressive, typical, now this is woken up, your typical aggressive pike strike. It was quite soft. It was almost like now what's it doing? Oh, no, you don't. Get out of that. Another decent 30+ inch. Again, they're very soft takes today. Outside of the mouth, slow retrieves, a lot of fish on the paws and the drop. Let me get the fly line out of my feet here. Large arbor helps gather that line, but keep that fish under control. On the outside of the mouth, just like you said, George, when they're not in that happy state. So we'll put that in the net. There we go. Thank you, sir. Right out. Right on the side of the face. I'm gonna reach in, grip her by the chin. There you go. Nice, healthy pike. Why are you eating so softly today? Reminded me of home for rainbow trout. That soft, delicate take. Don't know if he's that big. Just working along the edge, just like a little drop off. George says we're in about 8 to 10 feet of water, so I'm just targeting sort of the lighter edges and just stripping it off and letting it fall. And this black bunny leech, when it just falls through the water, it's so seductive. Oh yeah, this looks like I'll take this. George has got the net. We'll steer him right in. Think. This is why you come to Manitoba. Uh-oh, the net. Look at that thing. That is a beautiful fish and a beautiful way to end an unbelievable trip up here in northern Manitoba at Gangler's Lodge. Let's get this big girl back in. Oh, what a fish, what an experience, what a trip. I can't thank the folks at Ganglers enough for their hospitality, for putting us on these great waters, and for putting George with us, who his patience and his knowledge of these areas is unbelievable. We couldn't have done it without either of them. We got to chase northern pike, lake trout, walleye, grayling. Beautiful experience. I hope you learned a little bit more about these different species and different techniques on how to fish them, both when you come here and especially on your own waters. For more information on this episode and others in our informative series, please visit us on the web at thenewflyfisher.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and catch other episodes just like this one on our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.
The New Fly Fisher is supported by Travel Manitoba, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada,